Kevin, I've heard you talk a lot about that workforce readiness, but what does that really look like?
Yeah, no, workforce readiness, it actually comes from athletic principles. I mean, every athlete, when they're showing up to practice or competition, they're thinking about, am I physically ready? Am I in the right headspace mentally? And what am I doing to prepare for the activity that I'm about ready to participate in? So when we adapt those principles to workforce athletes, the way that I think about it is, am I physically ready to perform that job? So that could be, are my muscles and my joints prepared? Am I hydrated? Am I taking in the right nutrition? Am I ready to go? Am I ready to perform? Number two is the mental aspect. And what we know is that, there's so many competing priorities, and the work is oftentimes very technical. And so technical and dangerous. So being in the right headspace is absolutely critical. And so there are things we talked about earlier in this conversation. If you're 2% dehydrated, your brain stops functioning at the same capacity. And it's because of the sludge blood. It's because you have less oxygen getting up to your brain. And so when we need to make critical decisions, if our brain's not ready to go, that can be trouble. We also know 80% of the workforce is in pain on a daily basis. Ken, you and I were talking about the other day. It's like, I heard all the time, well, the area of our brain that processes pain is also the area of the brain that processes critical procedures or critical functions. And so if I'm working on, high voltage line, and I'm thinking about my back, and my back's talking to me, those signals are going to my brain. There's a distraction that's happening. And we know that people in pain actually take shortcuts and put themselves at a higher risk of injury. Mm-hmm. And so, thinking about those aspects, and then the work that I'm doing, like, am I prepared to do the work? Not from a technical standpoint, but am I putting my body in the best position so I can leverage every muscle possible? Every athlete, when they go to lift weights, they're positioning their body in the strongest manner so that they can, execute that and lift with the strongest muscles of their body. So if we're in a, posture that's not going to allow us to use our full capacity, we're going to put strain on other areas of our body and put ourselves at higher risk for injury. So when we talk about workforce readiness, we think about that physical, the mental, and then the job specific aspect.
I definitely know that pain feeling and how distracting it can be. And, in taking those shortcuts, I've been there hundreds of times.
Yeah.
And I even notice sometimes on those really hot days too, when you're sweating and out there, that I even hurt more at the end of the day like that. Like, I am just beat, and I might have just done the same thing that I did the day before when I was a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Well, have you ever felt like an area of your body where maybe you sprained an ankle, or you, had a little strain, and your mind is just completely focused on that area?
100%.
And then if you're like dehydrated or you're exerting yourself, the body's, again, trying to adapt to the stress that's being placed on it. But the weak link of the chain is where inflammation, like the body has to divert resources to other areas of the body. And so it's going to heighten that pain response to the area that's already injured. And so again, the body is constantly thinking about, where do I redirect this resource or this resource or this resource? And so in that hot environment, we want to cool down our body. So we want to send blood away from the core out to the extremities, out to the skin, so we can dissipate that heat. But that puts more stress on the cardiovascular system, because now it's having to work harder to pump that blood to the main organs, or try to fight the infection or fight the injury that's happening at the same time. So yeah, our body has that heightened response when it's undergoing more stress.
Makes a lot of sense. So instead of blaming Lacrosse for leaving something I tricked over, it was really my fault, not taking care of myself.
Exactly. But there's this mindset too, that it's like your work is going to break you down. But when you're in the gym lifting and you feel that soreness the next day, it's because you actually had micro tearing of your muscles. Like, your muscles are being broken down, but very strategically, so that they can build back up stronger. And I am just such a huge proponent that if we put our bodies in the best position when we're working, we're actually going to make ourselves stronger rather than breaking ourselves down. I think a lot of people, they don't even know how to position their body when they're performing certain job tasks. And we focus oftentimes on ergonomics, which is really important, or getting the right tools in people's hands, absolutely critical. But you also have to pair that with, now let's get your body in the most optimal position, and then we can actually make you stronger than breaking you down.
Great point. Kevin, as it relates to dynamic movement and stretching, and in athletics, that's a given. You're doing that before practice, before games, or training session, etc. We always perform that. What's the importance of dynamic movement and preparation of the body as it relates to heat stress and cooling your body?
Totally. And just so that everyone's on the same page, so a static stretch is like holding a stretch position. So it's putting that muscle on stretch, where a dynamic movement is taking a joint through a full range of motion. So oftentimes, you can imagine you're at a soccer match and you watch people warming up, their, running side to side, they're opening up their hips, they're doing all these movements to open up that range of motion for the body. Because when we've been sitting, for an extended period of time, or we're static, like our joints tend to get stiff. And so it's really important that we focus more on the dynamic movements. When we're talking about heat, though, it's also really important because, again, starting out cold, all of that blood is in our core. And so what we're trying to do is get that blood out to the extremities, out to the skin. And that's, even just a little bit of motion actually starts to open up our sweat glands, and it starts to prime the body to be ready to dissipate that heat. And so I mean, the dynamic movement is absolutely critical, especially if you've been driving for an hour and you get to the job site. It's like the warm-up that you maybe did, or the stretch and flex that you did at the operations base, maybe a little bit negated by the time you get to the job site. So it doesn't take much. It's like maybe 1 to 3 minutes of just some simple movements. But then also thinking about, if you've been working out in front of you for an extended period of time, you're activating like one group of muscles.
Yes.
And so it's also important to, I call them disruptive exercises. So doing the opposite. So if I've been here, I want to activate the muscles on the backside of my body. And that's going to, again, help our body become much more efficient at then redirecting some of the blood to different areas of our body, because we just want that symmetry in terms of how we're utilizing our muscles.
Yeah, absolutely. And we kind of live in a linear anterior focus society. And
yes, right.
Yeah. So that posterior counteraction is so key.
Totally.
Whether you're driving in the truck on the way to the job, to working on stuff out in front of you, everything's, as Kevin mentioned, in front of you.
Yeah.
Which makes you more susceptible, obviously, in the posterior chain, which is, could be back issues, or, it's just an imbalance. So yeah, I think that's a great point, just to focus on that counteractive movement. Yeah. And as we talk about the importance of disruptive movements, right, or posterior training, et cetera, and what does that look like in your mind as far as the ideal process or preparation for a worker that's trying to improve their situational readiness, their workforce readiness, their mental readiness?
Yeah, I always tell people, oftentimes we're like, okay, I'm going to check the box and I'm going to do my stretch and flex. And so we think about like this 10-minute portion at one part of the day. But the reality is like our body thrives when it's moving. And when we're activating, the front side of our body, the back side, we're going through 4 ranges of motion. And so I'm a huge advocate for just little bits on a consistent basis throughout the day. So like when I'm waiting for my coffee to brew in the morning, I'm going to do like a minute of hip openers. And then I show up, let's say I'm a utility worker. I show up to the operations base. Maybe you do warm up as a group for the camaraderie and to get everyone on the same page. But then if you jump in your truck and drive an hour and a half to a job site, all these muscles in the front part of your thighs, muscles in the front of your chest, all those muscles have become shortened. And we need to activate those muscles, especially on the other side of the body. So doing opening type exercises. And again, it's like 1 to 3 minutes. It doesn't have to be long, but to prepare for the work that you're about ready to do. I oftentimes say I'm the weird guy, like on the back of an airplane or at the gas station, just doing like a little stretch here or a little movement there.
Yeah.
And it's just fitting it into your day. So, and then it becomes much more of a lifestyle rather than, again, I'm just checking the box and doing my stretch and flex. It's thinking more about movement as a lifestyle and just a part of how you get through your day. And people feel so much better when they do that.
Yeah. And I'm tired of hearing people from this industry talk about how bad they feel at the end of their trade.
Totally.
What's the point of busting your butt your whole life? You're making good amounts of money, all that fancy stuff. And then you get to the end of your trade and you can't even go out fishing or hunting or hiking or camping or whatever it is you want to do. Spend time with your loved ones. I mean, right, Ken? It's like people will break down in this and it's just accepted.
Yeah, it's like a badge of honor almost to come away with bad knees, bad shoulders. And you spend all that time working, providing for your family, getting all the toys that now you can't use because you're sick, you're out of shape, you're, all those things that led to it. And it's just because I didn't take the initiative to take care of the main tool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a pattern that I've seen is I've never met somebody who likes to be in pain. Like nobody likes to be in pain. And number two, everybody has a higher quality of life if they can move better. And so if you can do those things and just take small steps over the course of your life, it's like brushing and flossing your teeth, but doing it for your muscle and your joint health. It's just making it part of that maintenance routine. And I'm just always shocked when people are so resistant of, oh, my company's making me do this stretch and flex program. And I'm like, man, they're giving you the time to take care of your body so that you don't end up at the end of your career broken down. And I hope that people can see the bigger picture of like, it's an opportunity to make a small investment in your movement health for the long term so that you don't have to have the same impacts.
I like that. It's about taking ownership or accountability of your own health.
Yeah.
And doing the steps necessary to extend your body life, to teach the next person, how to extend theirs instead of saying, this is what you should end up like, kid, all broke down, right? These are the tools you need to do so that you don't come out looking like the guy over there.
You're spot on too. And it's like, we should all be encouraging each other to take care of our bodies. I mean, this is a brotherhood and sisterhood. It's like, it becomes a point of contention of like doing a warm up at the start of the day versus, hey guys, let's do this. We got to take care of our bodies. And these are the reasons why. Let's do it. Like, have you ever seen a sports team just walk out on the field and not prepare it? Like, there isn't a sports team on the planet that doesn't do a pre-game warm-up, and yet we get all weird about it if we have to do it at the start of the workday. We just need to think of ourselves differently as industrial athletes and start looking to the top performers and seeing what they do and just say, I do that same thing just in a different application, and so this is how we're going to approach this.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I love that thought too, because you think about your time as a kid and you played basketball, you want to be like Michael Jordan, so you mimic everything that they did. And I love football, I love sports. And when I watch the pregame, when they're stretching, they're laughing and they're having fun and like interacting with each other and trying to correlate that to the job. Why couldn't that be your job briefings, your tailboard meetings where you can sit there, have fun, interact with each other to make sure that you're getting ready for the day?
Yeah. Ken, why do you think people are more apt to do a 360 walk around of their vehicle, inspect their tools, inspect their buckets to make sure they're working, maintain their tools, their vehicle, but when it comes to their own body, which you don't get any trade-in value for your body, and the parts, the originals are way better than the replacements. So like, why would people not take steps to take care of their body?
I don't really know. Honestly, other than when you think about some of the steps that you take on the job, it's kind of compliance based. So somebody's telling you that this is instructions, this is what you have to do, or you're going to be reprimanded for it. Same thing, if you don't take care of your vehicle, it breaks down, and now the money that you're going to go on vacation is spent to fix your truck, and you don't think the long-term portion of the body. It's just like, okay, this is what I have to do. I'll deal with this pain so that I can get X or Y, go on that vacation, when really I should have been taking care of myself so that I can enjoy that vacation that I've been saving up for and working so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the the irony behind it too is, as we mentioned earlier, this is a tough, gritty, technical demographic of workers. And a lot of them are badasses at the end of the day. Like I've seen some really badass type workers in this space. And why wouldn't you want to allow yourself to be a badass as long as possible? Right? That's why I take care of myself, because I want to be the best version of myself as long as possible. Same thing goes for the trade, right? What you put in is what you're going to get out throughout your trade and your career. And it's going to, how long you can do it and how you feel coming out of it depends on what you pay attention to right now. So I think there's so many positive cultural shifts going on in this trade, specifically about paying attention to these type of topics. And it takes thought leaders and workforce leaders to take initiative and leadership.